Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening we'll be delving into Egypt's economic portfolio. Specifically, we'll be talking about revamping some sectors of this industry. Per the President's initiative, companies that are going through difficulties, Egypt's mission is to get them back on their feet again. How are we doing on that side, and how are we developing our economy to make it more competitive globally? Will be under discussion this evening with a distinguished panel. With us this evening is Engineer Hussein Ghazzawy, who is a former chairman of a leading international oil field service company. A pleasure to have you with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
With us also this evening is Mr. Ahmed Khattab, who is an economic researcher and a financial advisor, also a member of the Canadian Council. A pleasure to have you with us.
My pleasure to be with you.
Engineer Hussein, economically, how do you see us moving? I mean, one of the main challenges that Egypt faced over the past few years is getting back on its feet economically after so many political events, so to speak. How do you see us moving forward?
I think Egypt is moving in the right direction. I like using numbers because it's a fact. If we look at the growth and the GDP, it's 5.8, and next year will even cross 6%. That's a significant percentage. If we talk about the unemployment, which is another indicator, Egypt dropped from a high of 13.3 in 2014 to 9% last quarter of 2019. The labor force in Egypt is 29 million, and actually it increased 2 million from 2014 to 2019. So we dropped from 13.3 to 9%, while additional 2 million came to the labor force, so that's another good indication. I think all the mega projects happening in the country, it's a labor intensive. We see the new capital, the Suez Canal tunnels, all the construction going on, the new roads, the agriculture, the fish farmers. There are the new ports, many industry are taking off, and as you mentioned in your introduction, there is few initiatives to focus on the industry. I think the industry, it stands at 18% of the GDP, which is allow Egypt to have more room to expand. We have the ingredient to expand in the, as far as the industry, it will be the locomotive of the growth of this country. And I think His Excellency, the President, coming with very interesting initiatives to promote the industry, to help the troubled factories. And with I read a lot of international reports from the Finance Institute mentioning about all these initiatives. It is in line. We are moving from reactive to a proactive mode. We have came a long way in as far as economic concern. We saw the drop in the exchange rate. The reserve, our reserve reached unprecedented figure of 45.5 billion. So this is all numbers, all real indicator of the success of the economy. His Excellency managed to create that healthy environment for investors to come and invest in the country. There is regular follow-up. We see all the sector are working, a lot of integration. Yesterday we saw the opening of Abu Zabal industrial facility for the military production. Yes. It's even he announced yesterday that some of this company could go for IPOs as well, to be open for the Egyptian public. It's good for the Egypt Stock Exchange. It's all going in the right direction.
Mr. Ahmed, even though we have a very, very big market that can afford to, I mean, you can easily produce and know that your product will have the consumer. But we tend to import more, and we're more of a consumption-oriented society rather than a production-oriented. The fact that the president is asking to revamp the troubled companies, and a good portion of those companies happen to be industrial ones, is this a shift in the culture? Do you think we're going to turn into being more productive rather than just import and consume?
Yes, thank you. First of all, let me present by the name of all Egyptian and by the name of all industrial owners in Egypt to send a special thanks to Abdel Sisi and the Prime Minister Mustadbouli and the Minister of Trade, because the initiative in the end of December related to financing all troubled factory in Egypt by more than 100 billion Egyptian pound, and this initiative will be operated 100% under the leadership of Central Bank of Egypt Governor Mr. Tariq Amir. Our President Sisi, in all official meeting with the Prime Minister and Mr. Tariq Amir, focus on how to encourage the industrial sector in Egypt in order to be upgraded, in order to be able to make export all over the world rather than import of all necessary goods and services related to all Egyptian community especially. So I think such initiative solve a lot of problems related to more than 5 factors in Egypt, and we produce a new solution for the problem of troubled factory. First of all, deleting of all accumulated interest. Second, supporting in order to be clear, in order to stand the new operation with the banking sector, even governmental sector or private sector. By the way, all banking sector in Egypt, private and governmental sector, takes this initiative also and starting to make a new loans to all factors in order to start operation, even need to increase the capital, need more investment, need to make imported of new machines, add new technology. So all they need our banking sector will provide. And especially we have the ability to in the local factory produce goods we are imported before, because we aim to increase the export and reduce import. Why we need to increase the export rather than import? Because once we increase export, we will have surplus in central bank reserve more than 45.8 billion US dollar, and we aim to increase in the future, will reduce the pressure in the foreign currency, and this is will lead to more stability in the market, opening new investment environment in order to increase direct investment from Arab and foreign country, and starting a small and medium project will be support our Egyptian youth in order to catch a job and will reduce the unemployment rate. So I think Mr. Tariq Amir second term take a lot of very effective decision related to investment, especially industrial sector and housing sector also. All this initiative lead to increase the growing rate in order to reach 6% by the end of this year, leads to also make it stable in the market, aims to open new industry in Egypt in order to increase the growing rate also and increase the volume of export. And I think Mr. Tariq Amir sent a clear message, all banking sector in Egypt ready 100% for supporting all new industry and support all troubled factory.
One of our problems in the past was the lack of proper research. The professional way or the appropriate way of setting up any business is first to do something called a feasibility study. Some of those troubled businesses or companies may be due to the lack of proper studies prior to the actual setup, including maybe identifying the competitive edge. Have we overcome that problem, that you're based on a foundation and you're actually producing something local market needs and the international market needs it, and more appropriately, the quality of that product? Because this was also a problem with us, that the quality was not up to international standards.
We have started. It's still way to go. To complement what Mr. Ahmed said and to get to your question, I think funding is good, but it's not only enough. all these trouble factories need to be on case-by-case basis to know if just the failure was or default was due to the economic situation post 2011 or due to the poor or mismanagement, lack of good quality, lack of skilled people. So there are measures are taken, and the Central Bank of Egypt governor actually is working with give clear instruction to bank to have a credit visibility with all these troubled factories. We need to know if the project will have the income to cover after they resolve the issue with the debt they have. I think training, and we see His Excellency the President focusing on building the human capacity and enhance. We are gifted with our human power. I would consider it a human power.
What about the quality of the human power?
It needs training, it needs coaching. We don't know if all this trouble factory using skilled laborers or not. So it needs to have a structured, accredited training for vocational training for all this labor. When it comes to quality is very important. We need the quality assurance, quality check. We need to have very clear process and procedure for that. Marketing is another important aspect. We need to have a campaign to market all this. We need to market all this product. And I think the Egyptian citizens, the individual, have a role to play. We have to encourage our made in Egypt product. Not all the country with all this good product came overnight. It took them time. We have to give a constructive feedback. Most of us, when we go to a place and we ask the salesperson where it's made, it's imported, it's good. No, this need a paradigm shift in our purchasing culture. We need to change that. We have a lot of Egyptians living abroad. I lived abroad for a long time. And even in their weekly shopping, they have to encourage buying the Egypt products. Not only back to what you mentioned, but we have to have a good quality. We have to improve the quality. I think in our culture, the quality assurance, quality control need to be embedded on all these factories. I would say the training, opening a new market. I think Africa is a market need Egypt. And back again to number. In 2018, Egypt exported to Africa $4.7 billion compared to $3.7 billion in 2017.
Yes.
Good improvement, but it's not enough. If you take the Arabic African countries, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Sudan, we export to them about 3 billion out of the 4.7. That's mean 65% of what we export to our neighbors. Africa's 1.3 billion human being. I worked 10 years in Africa throughout my career, so I know.
Very big market.
Very big market, and we should not treat Africa as a second-class market. We have to have the quality. The Egyptian product going to US or going to Western Europe and going to Africa has to have the same quality. Having a code with the quality, Egyptian code with the quality is very important to have this with all our product. We need, like Mr. Ahmed said, to reduce the gap between imports. We still have deficit and still significant, and we need to work to reduce the gap between export and import. And I strongly believe Egypt has all the ingredients to have that, and we have the leadership who's determined and keen to make a significant change. I think with all these initiatives, Egypt is going for a revolution as far as the industry concerned, to have the industry sector present and having a good percentage as far as the GDP concerned.
One of the things that sort of makes one sometimes a bit sad is when you walk into leading department stores abroad in the fashion capitals of the world, and you see a small boutique in that store, and it has the cloth, the material, Egyptian cotton.
True.
But you would walk in and you would see this roll of material, you would select the material, and then they take your measurements and they will fix you the shirt. So the material is the cheapest thing, even though this is the backbone of that thing. But unfortunately, we don't export the shirts. Rather, we export the material, and the skilled labor in those capitals actually do the shirts. Same thing with furniture. Damietta. It's one of the leading areas in Egypt for furniture. You'd have excellent quality furniture, excellent quality of wood, but we export the wooden stuff unfinished. Why? Because we have a problem with the finishing, the last touches. And thus, the competitive edge and the big money doesn't fall on us. It falls in the hands of those who import that stuff. When can we reach a stage whereby we would say this boutique is selling finished Egyptian shirts rather than the material? So you would buy the shirt for $600-700 rather than sell the material for $10 a meter or whatever.
I know you 100%. Because of this, I will send to you a good message from Minister Hisham Tawfiq yesterday in the media, to the media. During the coming 2 months, you will find a T-shirt made in Egypt will be sold in all over the world by from $300 to $400 and made in Egypt 100%. Why? Because we make upgrading of all old industry in Egypt, and our business sees a vision to be not to sell the material, to sell the finished goods to the end user. Why? In order to maximize the profitability and revenue related to our country, Egypt. And this is our target. Because of this, the central bank initiative will support a large also industry by total sales of 1 billion. And this is another initiative central bank take in consideration by only 10% decrease interest. And this is a very good in order to start your operation and have also a suitable profitability, because we aim the private sector to take the profit margin more than any country in order to increase the direct investment in Egypt. And that's we do with especially Arab countries like Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. Out of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates invest in Egypt because we have a good profitability. Also, we encourage Damiat furniture. If we go back for 3 months, our business CC launching a lot of new techniques, industries related to the manufacturing.
Do we have the labor to do this?
We have the qualified labor, but sometimes need more training. We need some specialized training. We should launching vocational training center in order to increase the quality of finished goods in Egypt. But we have the ability, because a majority of Egyptian is yours, and we have the chance to make training. And all international deals we do in Egypt in last 2 years with a mega project in the field of electricity and in the field of liquid gas. We take some of the agreement related to training of our employee, of our engineering.
Yes.
And because of this, we already established new school for training with the cooperation of the private and international sector, and a lot of multinational company work in Egypt from Germany and from America, starting this operation from 1 year. If also we go to all field in Egypt, we need SMEs project, have the chance to work with social development related to improve the quality of employee, improve the visibility study of the project, supporting the businessman by more training, supporting the business by all facility, by digital economy will help and facilitate to send official database to all businessmen in Egypt. Also the international forum held in Egypt, like Invest in Africa Forum, investment in Comesa Forum,
Yes.
A lot of international forum held in Egypt also. During the workshop and the session of the conference, we have training and we have a round table discussing the challenging face industrial sector in Egypt. We also, every minister under the leadership of our Dr. Mustafa Adbouli, cabinet prime minister, supporting the private sector and the governmental sector, and we do the support to, in order to cooperate, because cooperation between the private sector and the public sector will lead to more growth related to our Egyptian economy. I think this is a good question from you. I'm here in order to send you a positive message. During the 2 or 3 months by maximum, you will find a final product made in Egypt, export to all over the world by a standard quality.
The energy sector, it's our bread and butter. And this is one of the sectors, if not the sector really, that witnessed a huge leap since President Sisi came to office. How do you see the potential? Because we were only consuming, we had a shortage, and touch wood, now we have a surplus in that sector and we're moving forward with it. How do you see the progress and its contribution to the whole economic portfolio of Egypt?
I think as far as the oil and gas sector and energy, I mentioned also the energy sector, Egypt came, we have the achievement being done in the last 4 or 5 years is unprecedented, unprecedented by any standard.
Did you envision we would achieve that much? As someone working in the field for a long time.
I didn't. I think what we have done in oil and gas industry, we were exporting gas and we start importing gas from 2015. We became, actually even in 2016, among the top 10 gas importing countries, which is a disaster from being an export. Yes. We have overnight our LNG plant in Dumyat and Edco became idle because we don't have gas to export. Numbers again. July 2016, we dropped from 6 billion standard cubic feet in 2011, 2012 to 3.6 in July 2016, and we came back. We're exporting now, we produce now 7, and we have the potential even to produce more. So as far as the gas concerned, we have a surplus. We're using the LNG facility again to re-export. We're even getting gas from neighbors' country to liquefy it and export it again. As far as electricity concerned, we have now at 58 gigawatt capacity. We were struggling. The blackout, we all experienced that ourselves in 2014. So the acceleration and the fast tracking of all this project, whether it's in oil and gas industry or whether it's in electricity and energy industry in general, it's unprecedented. Comparison again. Zohr, from the time of discovery to time of first gas, 33 months. Atoll, 28 months. Atoll, 33 months. In a neighbor country where they had similar discovery, it took them 6 and 9, 10 years. They didn't have a funding problem. They had an issue. They don't have any gas. So we have to be same in the electricity. All this fast tracking project in the electricity, new plants, the 3 mega plants. So we have to be as a country proud of that. And my opinion, that wouldn't have been possible without a leadership vision, determination, and follow-up, and commitment from everybody. It's something we need to be proud of. Oil and gas now present 27% of the GDP. That's significant.
Will it increase more in the
Of course, will increase more. There are a lot of petrochemicals project going on. We increasing the capacity of the refinery. As far as oil concerned, we are not self-sufficient yet, but the ministry have a very aggressive plan to reach the self-sufficiency as far as oil, gas as a clean source of energy. We export. We have a surplus now, so it is good. And now with all these initiatives in the industry, that's another sector can definitely.
What about the industry of that sector? Meaning that it's not just about getting the oil, but the industries that you can initiate and the products, the byproducts that you can export out of that. Because the world is really changing into more cleaner energy use in factories and what have you. But you need the byproducts the development of that industry, how is it going in Egypt?
I think it's going in, with all this petrochemicals facility, and the president opened mega one in Alexandria last year. We were still importing a lot of this byproduct. Now we have reached self-sufficient in some, and oil is not just to fuel the car. There are many industry we can get out of the oil, petrochemical, the gas. Now we have the gas, all the heavy and intensive energy industry, the cementing industry, the iron and steel industry, the ceramic industry, where you need a lot of energy. Now we can go back with all the plan we had, and some of it stopped because of lack or high price of energy sources. So it's good news for Egypt, but for us to maintain that, I think everybody, every member of young people, everyone, we have to work hard. We have to continue working. We have to protect what we have gained. The economic reform wasn't easy, but we can see the fruit of the economic reform now. The money used to go to the importing gas, now directed to health and education. We see improvement in that front. So I think we will continue and seeing a good result with the progress in the energy sector in general.
One of our key resources is our population, and it so happens that over 60% of our population happen to be from the lower age bracket, the youth.
Young.
A few months ago, I had someone from representing Germany, for example, and they are identifying what is needed for their market. He sat and he said, we need within the next few years 5,000 engineers in different sectors, for example. Yes. It's very, very important to make sure that we guide our youth. They need to know vocational training in what sectors, if you need engineers, if you need doctors, if you need businessmen, whatever. Have we identified that so that for me as a student when I'm in high school, I'm actually continuing my education in a line whereby when I graduate, I can find the job? Because part of our unemployment problem is that the quality and of that graduate and the field of study is not necessarily what the market needs, for example.
Yeah, yes, agree with you 100%. Because of this initiative, our business CC, when he visit Germany, for example, or Canada or America, in a B2B meeting with Prime Minister or President of another country, he insists to invite multinational and special technical university from all over the world to come and start operation especially in new capital administrative city. Because of this, our business CC approved a new technical university with Germany in order to start focus in graduate of qualified engineering, qualified technical. This aims to also focus in the field of liquid gas and petroleum, because we have a lot of a chance in the future, especially in the liquid gas. For example, we this year we're at zero imported of liquid gas, and we start export. And such also petrochemical industry, for example, need a qualified engineering. Because of this, we start to launch a multinational university in Egypt, technical university, and also some more specific university, especially in research. And I think Minister of Higher Education do a wonderful agreement in last 2 years. More than 8 multinational universities come and they start operation in new capital city and in Alamein city. All university aims to graduate a qualified doctor, qualified engineer, qualified accountant, qualified economics. All this will lead to encourage the Egyptian economy to reach to growing percentage more than 6.5 starting from 2021, and this is our image in the future. Also, we make the government also start to increase investment in higher education and in research. Why? Because education and research will lead to a right investment in the future. Because if we have a qualified teamwork, I will be able to compete locally and overseas, and I will be able to start a new operation, especially in the technology, because the world today make a competition in the field of technology. Because of this, also Egypt goes through the digital economy. So I think we take the right direction, and also all the governmental university in Egypt make upgrading to all the material, to the process of study, so also to the way we select students. Also Dr. Tariq Shawqi do a lot of achievement in the primary and secondary school also in order to graduate a qualified student to high school, and this will lead to 100% success in education reform, because we start it, and also our Egyptian cabinet increase the investment in this sector, private sector of education, and also governmental sector. So I think Egypt starting in 2016 economic reform, and from 2 years start also education reform, and we aims for graduate of better student from governmental university and also the private university. And I want to send a clear message to all of you. The private sector and the governmental sector in the field of education will working together in order to support Egypt. And the private sector support the governmental sector. Why private sector support the government sector? Because every student graduate from private sector and private university will make a surplus to the Egyptian government to support another person. So I think we in Egypt we have a new techniques, the cooperation between the public sector and the private sector in order to support the Egyptian economy and our country, Egypt. And this is a good message from the Egyptian businessmen and from the government also. I think we take the right direction. We have a lot of memorandum related to education with Japan. We have a lot of memorandum in the field of education with Germany, with America, with UK, with some Arab university, also like Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, and we're starting to take a right direction in the field of education reform. And I think next year we'll opening a new Galera University, for example, and a lot of international university in New Capital operations start operation from 1 year, and this is a good achievement, and also in Al-Alami.
It's not just about exports, it's also about imports. Now the trend is we don't want loans, we don't want grants, we want investors to come and invest in Egypt. Are we creating or working in the right direction towards creating this environment that is conducive to foreign investment? I know the oil and gas and energy, this is, now we have the ample supply, but the culture of encouraging investment, how do we stand on that?
I think there is a lot of focus on encouraging and creating this environment. If you look at all the indicators, all the risk indicators in the last 4 years, Egypt had a significant achievement. When people come and think of doing business in Egypt, they look at all this indicator. So Egypt created the environment for investors to come. I appreciate the involvement of the leadership in meeting, in marketing Egypt to the outside world. We see in all his visit is personally urging investors to come, and I always like to say that investors, you don't have hearts, they need to make money.
Yes.
And we managed to create that environment. Are we still? Yes, of course, further room to improve. There is the foreign direct investment. Egypt is leading in Africa, but we want to lead in more than Africa. We have the geographical position, and we have all the ingredient to that. you are absolutely right. As far as the energy sector concerned, the foreign direct investment is definitely ahead of other sector, and with to copy or to have the same in the other sector by creating the environment and all the indicator. I like numbers, and I always look at numbers, and all the indication. It for people want to come and do business in Egypt. It's encouraging the ease to do business. As far as the transparency index, we are there as well. We improve. We are not.
We still have a way to go.
We still have a way to go, but we are going in the right direction. That will all allow investment to grow. Good basically growth in the GDP. So,
what about the culture of the people? To facilitate things for the investor, because it's not just regulations. You can have regulations, but those embarking on the business and this foreign investor, his day-to-day dealings, for example.
I think there is work to be done, and I will quote the president when he said that moving to the new capital, it's just not changing office. It's a changing of the mindset, and that's what we need. I don't think we have the complete change in the mindset. As far as the top, it's clear. As far as people, not yet, but we are getting there. There is a very aggressive plan on the government, training of the government worker, Egypt going for digitalization across, automate the process. That will, now you can register a company in days compared to months with a lot of complication, but still, I appreciate where you're coming from asking about the culture, because I believe we still have.
What about the youth? Because part of the cultural problem is that I am older and I'm more experienced. And even though a fresh engineer graduated from a leading university abroad might have the technology and the know-how that someone senior might not necessarily have. What about this cultural problem?
Egypt takes the right direction in order to encourage the youth to support with the decision maker. If we go back 3 months, our business CC hiring all assistants of the minister, all assistants of the governor from the youth, female and male. And this is reflect the vision of our business CC. I am coming to support the Egyptian youth to be the leader.
We're not talking about just the top.
Yeah.
Because he cannot hire everybody. Like the President's Forum, the Youth Council, for example. It's a sample, but it has to be replicated for it to be efficient. The President is setting an example. But we were talking about the major companies, for example, them accepting that this young man or woman do have the experience, or the know-how at least.
I know. Your message is still included in the governmental sector, but also the Egyptian government make upgrade to the middle management in order to promote to be a leader. But in the private sector, it depends mainly 100% is the qualification and experience, even it's old or fresh graduate.
Is that the case in the private sector?
Yeah.
I think private sector is doing better job compared to other sector on promoting the young people. I've been involved in many forums where I had exchange engagement with young people to present sometimes their project in different sectors. And I can say it with total confidence, we have a fantastic youth graduated, highly qualified with a lot of good ideas. And if we fail to give the chance to these young people at the right time, we will lose this talent.
The brain drain, this is the fear.
The 5,000 engineers you referred to in Germany, they will take our engineer. You know that we have a shortage. They are taking our engineer. They are taking our doctors. Egypt, as far as the statistic, the number of doctors per 1,000 people, I think we are below the
We have a problem, even though we have a lot of people entering faculty of medicine.
We have a problem, and that's why actually many medicine faculties are opening. For pharmacists, we don't have shortage. So back to your comment, I think there is also room to direct and guide the people, not at the university level, at preparatory and high school level.
Yes.
We need more doctors, we need more. We not necessarily to have a university graduate. We need more technical people. So I think there are room to improve there. I think the private sector is ahead of other sector, but with all this training going on and with changing of the mindset when it comes to moving to the new capital, I'm sure we will get there.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple of minutes left, and I'll give each one of you a minute regarding the informal sector, because whenever we talk about troubled factories, for example, a good part of our economy, and it was one of the backbones after 2011, is the informal sector. How can we incorporate that sector to be more part of the society or the economic reform?
This is very important because of this, our President Sisi and the Minister and the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Amil, organizing from 2 years Financial Inclusion Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh, aims to the merge between the private sector in order to be take the right direction in the process to be official sector and formal sector. So I think all advantage we issued from the governmental bank and the private bank will motivate and help informal sector to be formal sector, because in order to take the advantage of the government and the advantage of the central bank, the advantage of loans, the advantage of feasibility study, the advantage of presenting liquid gas by a very low price. I think all governmental advantage lead informal sector to take the right direction and to be formal, and especially Minister of Investment support all informal sector to go through only through 2 or 3 working day by maximum in order to take commercial register, in order to be official, in order to open account in a bank, in order to make all transfer and payment electronically. So I think we should support informal sector in order to be formal. Why? Because all formal sector will be able to take the advantage of the government and will be able to support Egypt in the coming year in order to reach more than 60% as a growing rate, in order to make extension to the volume of investment, and extension lead to hiring more employees.
Yes.
So it's very important, and I think Abdel Sisi care of this point, and a lot of advantage will be presented in to this sector.
Engineer Hussein.
My 2 cents, financial inclusion is very important. Micro, small and medium enterprises. That's what made China economy as it is. We need to focus on that. Giving the chance to our youth, trust them. They are good. That's it for me.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your fruitful input. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this evening on To The Point. I'd like to thank you, the viewers, and we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.